Thank you guys. Thank you all so much for joining this very first session, this virtual session, Wellness for Waterwomen. This is the first time that we're doing this. I'm Stacy, by the way. I am the host of the Salted Spirit podcast, and I typically do these wellness events in person in LA with my van. But given everything happening around the world, I thought, gosh, I think there'd be a really cool opportunity for us all to pull together virtually. So I'm just super grateful that all of you are willing to carve out an hour today to spend with me and spend together as a group and a community, just really pulling together to learn from each other, hear from each other. We've got some really great topics lined up. And I don't know about you, but I've just been navigating this day by day. Everything changes, and the words social isolation or social distancing are very much new to my vocabulary. I already work from home, so I'm pretty accustomed to the work from home life, but I know it's really new for a lot of people. And I also work in mental health, and I have for about 16 years. So I'm very cognizant of the fact that, loneliness is a real thing, and we're all already a little disconnected, I think, with technology. So I'm just trying to find creative ways to keep us banded together. And I think this group of Waterwomen is just a really special and intimate kind of community that's unique. And I admittedly, pulled on my guest speakers for today pretty quickly, pretty last minute, and they were willing, no problem, to hop on with me and said, yeah, let's do this. Let's rally from all over the world, from here in LA, from England. And so I have just a fun, exciting lineup for you today. I just want to share a little bit about these three. And then, so I have Jedell calling in from here in LA. She's going to be joining us for the first 30 minutes and sharing a little reading with us. Jedell is an amazing Waterwoman. She was my first co-host on for the first van event live. And she's the co-founder of Courage Camps, and just this woman that I admire and I'm inspired by every single day. So I'm super grateful to have Jedell on today. Marissa is a friend that I hadn't seen her in a couple of years, and ironically, we surfed together this week in the rain, and she's a nutritionist and a surf coach and cooks amazing vegetarian and vegan meals. And I thought, Marissa, can you join this virtual meeting and give us some great tips for cooking and, kind of navigating this new world that we're going to be working through the next couple weeks and months, and give us some tips. So I'm super excited to have her speak today. And then last but not least, Nix Joubert is joining us all the way from the UK. She's a meditation and yoga instructor. She's been a recent guest on my podcast. And Nix has actually been creating these beautiful, bespoke, custom meditations for each of my in-person sessions that I've been sharing at the beach. And so she's going to be speaking today and leading us through a meditation. So I'm just really, really excited about that. So thanks to all of my guests for hopping on and sharing inspiration with all of us women all over the world. I just want to hear, where are you guys calling in from around the world? So I had a few of you hop over to the chat. I don't know if you can see that chat function if you're new to Zoom. This might be a new thing for you, but if you can find it, I would love to hear, where are you calling in from? What countries around the world? I was hoping to just read a couple of those off. So I'll give you about 30 seconds. I've got Marissa from Topanga, Pamela from Redwood City. We've got, someone from Portland. Awesome. Portia's calling in from the UK. She's got her Earl Grey tea on the go. I love it. Thank you, Portia. I've got something fun to share that you sent in to me. Toronto, yay. More from the UK. Bianca from Ocean Goddess, awesome, from LA. Jess from Santa Monica, one of my first surf buds. Echo Park, Silver Lake. Mackenzie in LA. Amazing. So thank you guys all. Keep that coming. It's fun just to share where we are in the world. Okay, you guys, your one job for today was to bring your favorite cozy beverage so we could do a virtual toast and share. I'm all about the beverage, so I wanted to hear what you guys have in your cup. So hop back over to the chat button and tell me what you're drinking. I saw someone was drinking Earl Grey. Hot chaga mushroom elixir, coffees, Just Cantor, yes. I just want to know what else is in your cup today. I don't even know how to pronounce that. Gyro-Kiro, I'm going to have to Google that one. Peppermint tea, turmeric and ginger. Yes, that's actually what I have exactly in my cup, is turmeric and ginger. So good for anti-inflammation and digestion, Gendry berry tea, English breakfast tea, peach tea, a lot of tea, more coffee, mate, amazing. Very, very cool. All right, so I am gonna close this up. I just wanted to make sure you guys all got cozy. So before I kick it over to Jedell, I just want to say a couple quick things. I actually have, just to give my friend Portia a shout out on Instagram. We were connecting earlier this week. She's a physician associate in the UK and gave me a little bit of what's really going on in the front lines over there. And she had something really beautiful to share, and I felt like it was worth sharing today. She said the Chinese characters for the word crisis are made up of two things: danger and opportunity. And this really hit me. I was thinking a lot about it and thinking about what we were going to speak about today. And I just truly believe that we have a lot of opportunity right now to set our intentions for how we're going to navigate these next few weeks and potentially months together. Just our ability to practice things like resiliency and mindfulness and some of the things that Nix is going to talk about. Really fueling our bodies and our minds and our hearts and our brains with the best type of food and nutrition to keep our immune systems well and healthy. So I just really think there's so much of an opportunity. And I want to talk a little bit about self-care, because I think I was thinking of that analogy on the airplane that we've all seen and we all know, when the oxygen mask drops down and your kid's sitting next to you, of course you want to put the oxygen mask on your kid first, right? But if you can't breathe and you can't function, you're not going to be able to help the person next to you. So it's so critical to really prioritize that self-care first and foremost, and know that that's not selfish. That is an opportunity for you to be well, so we can help and serve others and serve the community and serve those that maybe aren't as privileged as us and need more support and more help. So that's really why we're here today. So I really handpicked these two topics for you today because I felt like we're all home and these are things we can work on together. So nutrition, food, how we eat, and changing some of our habits to just be more mindful. And then, just the topic of mindfulness and meditation. And I think everyone's journey with meditation is a little bit different. Mine's pretty new, to be honest. I just started a new meditation practice about a month ago, and it's interesting that it's just coming into my life at this particular time. But I was always the girl who was like, meditation's not really for me. That's cool. Like, it just doesn't really work for me. And it's not something that you learn overnight. It's like learning Portuguese or learning another language. Like, you're not going to take one class and be perfect at meditation. And Nix has helped me with that as well. But it's just allows me that time, especially now with everything being, on high alert and our emotions are really high. It just allows us that opportunity to really take a breath. So I'm excited for Nix to lead a little session on that today. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my friend Jedell. She's going to share an inspirational reading with us today.
Yay! So Stacy had asked me if I could kind of kick this off because I read a lot, and especially nowadays there's so much time to get caught up on all the physical books that I've been meaning to read. But one of the things I like to do too in moments like this that feel strange, awkward, weird, tense, scary for some of us is to go back to some of the books that I've already read and look through some of the little notes and things I've underlined. So I picked 3 books. And if you have pen and paper, please write down what some of these little quotes from those books make you think, because I don't think we'll have time to share our thoughts. But the first one is Art of Peace. And I actually picked up this book because I train martial arts. And so I wanted to figure out, how do I feel peace in these really chaotic moments in martial arts? But it ended up being way bigger than that. It's about peace in our lives. And I think this is a really good moment to practice that. So I made these. It says, "The art of peace is medicine for a sick world. There is evil and disorder in the world because people have forgotten that all things emanate from one source. Return to that source and leave behind all self-centered thoughts, petty desires, and anger. Those who are possessed by nothing possess everything." Which I thought was so cool because there's probably lots of things and lots of freedoms that feel like they've been taken away from us right now. Like for me, the inability to go to the gym or go to work. I'm working from home. Those feel really limiting. But in fact, if we can still feel a lot of peace in these moments, I think that's true power. So that was my first one. And then the second one, if you haven't read this book, it's Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, who was actually in a concentration camp during the Holocaust. And he talks about just the mindset that got him through. And so he says here, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstance, cannot be taken away. So again, it all comes down to what we choose to make out of that situation. And then my last one is called The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And this is what he says. Your best is going to change from moment to moment. It will be different when you are healthy as opposed to sick. Under any circumstance, simply do your best, and you will avoid self-judgment, self-abuse, and regret. Okay, I hope those helped.
Thank you, Giselle. You are a wealth of knowledge, and I jotted all of those books down. I think reading is something that we will maybe be able to prioritize and make more time for now, and just get some inspiration and positive thinking. So I love all those suggestions and inspiration today to set the stage for our time together. So thanks, Giselle. All right. Yay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to our first official speaker, Marissa. As I mentioned, she's an amazing dietitian and nutritionist, and I was hoping for some inspiration these next few weeks, especially for me, admittedly. You guys, I don't like to cook. I wish I did. I try to make myself like to cook. I try to get inspired. It's not my favorite thing. But this is one of those times where I think, and maybe it's just because I have this busy life and I don't prioritize it and make time for it, but I think cooking can be really therapeutic, and it's really important, as I mentioned, just to keep our bodies nourished with the best foods. And if you're like me, sometimes maybe an emotional eater, or like the sugar or the sweets or the crunchy cookies or chips, and not that that's all bad, but I think trying to find more foods that really are going to fuel us for the better right now is going to be really important. So just trying to be more thoughtful about that. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Marissa to lead the charge on some fun recipes for nutrition for Waterwomen.
Hello, Waterwomen, and even if you're not a Waterwoman, I know my mother is on here, and I don't think she goes in the ocean, but I wanted to welcome you guys all, and thanks for being here. And I've been hearing a lot of different things. I wanted to make sure that some of those health claims people are talking about are true, and I just wanted to talk about some of those things to you guys. And before I say that, to you ladies, before I say that, just of course, if you want to start implementing any of these things and anything in general that's new to you, even if it is all natural, check with your doctor first and make sure it's right for you. And one big thing that I wanted to talk about is, when people start to, I'm not even going to say panic or worry, because that's really extreme, but that is happening. And then some people are not panicking and worrying. Whatever your stage is and whatever your stress level over this thing is, anything you do to increase your health and your immune system is going to help you in this time. So wherever you are in that, just be patient with your family and friends. Everybody is going to react differently in terms of emotionally and also nutritionally. So people have different recommendations for different health issues, and these are going to be just general guidelines. And I'm not going to go into super detail about how much each of you should take of these things, but I'm going to point out some that can be easily overdone or underdone. So I'll point those out. So yeah, with that said, I heard a lot of people this day, like people have been saying around that apple cider vinegar is going to help you stave off this virus. And, I turn more to lemons for that. There's really high in vitamin C, and it has that cleanliness aspect where it will help you de-acidify your bloodstream. And without getting into too crazy detail, it just disinfects. So it's It's a really good one. It has vitamin C. With apple cider vinegar, there are all these health claims, and some of them are true, like there are probiotics in it, but it's only true if you're having a really raw one with the mother, which is the particles in it. So I was just going to say it's better to go for lemons. That can be really, really good for boosting the immune system. It's one of the best things that you can do, and maybe they're still on the shelves. So we have also zinc. Zinc is a big one, and it's true that zinc will help you protect your immune system and protect your body. It also helps you absorb certain minerals. So you want to do, so for zinc, 8 milligrams is a typical level for women and 11 for men. And you'll see a lot of times like 40 or 50 milligrams in a lozenge or pill, or even more. And if you do take too much zinc, it can be exactly the opposite effect that you want. And you've probably heard this a lot of times with a lot of supplements. And even if you're eating it through food, you can overdo things, and you do want to have like a balance. So even if you are not into measuring all your micrograms and doing, all this particular work, the best thing you can do is to get a really colorful plate going every time that you eat. Or maybe you're doing juices or smoothies. That's going to add that color that you need every day. Zinc will interact with antibiotics, penicillamine, and even some diuretics. And some people take these, so you want to just be careful and make sure you check each one of these things out a little bit more for yourself. So another one is vitamin C, and I know I already spoke about that with lemons, but also think about getting that through foods, so it's not in a pill form, because you don't really absorb any supplement as well as you do through food. And it also comes with properties in the food that help absorb it. So when you take it out in the supplement, it's not as good. With vitamin C, it's one of the only things I'm going to talk about that you can kind of overdo. Your body can take a lot of vitamin C, so get your vitamin C up in any way you can. Lemon does help if you're not a fruit and veggie person. There are a lot of veggies that are high in vitamin C, like broccoli, but definitely get it in. Any kind of citrus fruits, and even kiwis, really high in it. Let's see. So also vitamin D is huge, and a lot of us don't have access to the best form of vitamin D, which is the sun. And it's really particular, the vitamin D absorption, so it depends on which area you are in the world and which season it is. So supplementation can be really, really helpful for most people, unless you're in Hawaii right now. One thing I wanted to point out about vitamin D, which I thought was really of particular concern right now, is that for the respiratory tract, there were a lot of studies that had shown that 3,300 micrograms, a day protected against particularly pneumonias and lung diseases and lung problems. And so super strong respiratory protection if you're taking, so that's something you might want to try today or right now at this time. And the typical amount is, people will say 600 to 800, and that is great for bone health and everything. Of course, vitamin D you need more of as you get older. That is true for most of the vitamins that I'm talking about as well today. It's harder to absorb stuff when you are over the age of 50. And so we'll just pay attention to that. I think another really, really good thing that you can, another thing about vitamin C, green tea is a really good one. It is high in caffeine, so you want to not do that later if that affects you. But it is really, really high in vitamin C and a lot of other polyphenols, and super awesome. Foods, this is a big one for me because I've felt a huge difference by taking foods with probiotics in first of all, my mood and my happiness. I feel like when I am taking foods with probiotics, it works really, really well, and my digestive system is really happy. Again, you don't want to overdo it because you're going to cause yourself stomach upset, but if you can add it to your food, that would be really great. It does, for me, work better than taking any kind of pill or probiotic, and I think it's far more effective. It takes it along the digestive tract with you better, and it has awesome fiber and stuff. So sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that. If you are into making it yourself right now because you have extra time, that's the best way. But you can also get it, provided they restock all these stores. Garlic and black garlic, white and black garlic are really, really good also for immune system. That's been on the list for immunity for many, many, many decades. Just getting greens in. And I know a lot of this is like stuff you already know, but we're going to remind you of a few things. But yeah, greens, if you're into juicing, maybe you haven't touched your juicer, maybe you don't have one, but if you do have one, it might be a fun time to bring it out and throw those greens in there. Ginger, lemon, just anything you want, just throw it in there, fruits and vegetable wise. So talking also about ginger, ginger is really, really good. A lot of people are talking about that too as well, being good for the immune system. So there are things you can do. You can juice the ginger and put it into ice cubes and later have it for green tea, and it's very, very potent. Did I just say green tea? I meant ginger tea. And I sometimes just do slices of ginger, throw it in there with some honey and lemon, but up to you. But that's a really good one for keeping the ginger going. So I will talk about honey now, because I just mentioned it. Obviously not vegan for those of you that are plant-based only, but for those of you that are not, Manuka honey is super strong for boosting the immune system. Honey in general, especially if it's raw, even if it's not Manuka honey, has naturally hydrogen peroxide in it, and it helps disinfect. So another bee. So, make sure that you're not allergic to bee items for these two, for the honey or for this one, but it's propolis. And propolis is probably the strongest immune system booster that I've ever felt and used. So it tastes terrible. So I recommend not doing it in drops and getting one that is in a pill form. And it's just with no other added things, just bee propolis. And it's this black sticky substance that's made to close the beehive holes from the bees, and it has a crazy amount of healing properties and immune system building properties. You can even put the raw honey, the Manuka honey, or the propolis on open cuts and things that or burns, things you want to heal up from the outside as well.
Hey Marissa, real quick, we have a question in the chat. How many grams of vitamin D are recommended?
Yeah, so if you're looking to do just regular day-to-day bone health, it's 600 to 800 micrograms. I keep saying that. But for respiratory protection, it's 3,300. So maybe at this moment, when we're in this mode of extra immune boosting and respiratory protection, you want to go with the 3,300.
Okay. And then last question, we've got a couple pregnant mamas on the phone. Are there any of these supplements that wouldn't be safe for them to take at this time?
You can stay away from the bee products. And that's pretty much it for the things I've mentioned so far. Yeah, because everything is natural that I'm talking about. We could talk about lots and lots of other things, but check and see with your doctor if you are sensitive to the bee products. Other than that, the other thing I mentioned is green tea, and some pregnant women don't want to have any caffeine while they're pregnant, and some do a little bit, so just consider that. And the other thing that I have on my list that would pertain to pregnant ladies is that I was going to talk a little bit later, but I'll just do it now, about alcohol consumption. A lot of doctors and the Mayo Clinic, everybody recommends that you keep it to moderation, and that means 1 drink every day for a woman and 2 drinks every day for a man. When you have 1 drink per week or 2 drinks per week, like each drink increases your chance of a lot of things, but I just stick with immune system. The more drinks you have over 1 is going to affect your immune system. So the negative, it will have a negative effect. The more you drink, the more you will have a negative effect on your immune system. And there's a lot of other things that go along with that. Your absorption of minerals and vitamins. Let me see, I'm getting close here. I'm just going to start getting close to my time. So I'm going to just talk about a few things and get into, okay, so turmeric, also really, really great. You can add it even in the powder form. Oregano oil is a really, really good one for immune system. Nuts and oils that are high in vitamin E. Wheat germ oil and wheat germ is by far the best source of that. But grapeseed oil and almond oil also have a lot. Okay. So I wanted to talk really quickly, my last couple minutes, about some recipes, and I wanted to keep it really, really simple. And instead of writing it down and sending it to you guys, just think about it in terms of your palate. So so I was thinking of, I had on here tahini dressing, because first of all, it's plant-based, anybody can have it, but it's super, super high in copper, zinc, selenium, iron, calcium, phosphorus, and these things work together really high for immune system health. So take a cup of tahini, half a cup of water, throw it in a blender. You can use warm water, but not too hot. And then add a couple of juiced lemons. So the juice of 2 lemons, and about a teaspoon of salt, a half a teaspoon paprika, and a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and a half a teaspoon to a teaspoon of cumin, depending on how much you like cumin. Throw that in a blender, and the point is for all of these things work really well together. It gives you fats, proteins, and it's all just in one dressing. You can make it really thick and make it into a dip. What I like to do with this is steam a bunch of veggies, maybe some kale, squash, stuff that's super boring and awesome. And then you make it great by putting one of these super nutritious dressings or dips on top, and maybe with a cup of quinoa. Like, there's a place that I grew up going that called it a planet platter, and you have all these things, and then you put the dressing on top. So this is really good. It lasts a long time. When you put a lot of lemon in it, it'll last a long time in your fridge, like at least a week. And it's so good. It's so good on anything. You can also just throw it on maybe you have some brown rice noodles or some noodles of whatever sort you like, and throw it on there. And it's something that is really good later. You can mix it up, maybe add salad, and just step out the door, and you've already got a lot of nutritious stuff going there. I know I'm about to be totally finished. Should I do the last one, or should I skip it? Okay, so the other thing is, it's like the same idea in the dressing, but it's Thai peanut sauce. So what I love to do with this one is, it's kind of really similar in its ingredients. So you can also do this with almond butter, really good for vitamin E. Peanuts also have it, so you could also do a combo of the two, but you do a cup of peanut butter, hopefully one that you really like, or one that's nice and pure and healthy, and some rice vinegar, about a 1/4 cup of rice vinegar, a 1/4 cup, so maybe the juice of 2 limes, and then about an inch stick of ginger, throw it in there, and honey. If you do the Manuka honey or the regular honey, throw it in there. If you're plant-based, you can throw maple syrup or whatever you're into there, and then maybe just about 1 to 2 tablespoons of maple syrup if you do that, and same with the honey. Yeah, throw that in a blender, and I love that over soba noodles. I'll put it on a bed of lettuce, and it's very filling by the time you get and it's complete proteins for you vegans and vegetarians out there. So I don't want to take up too much other time, but these are some of the things you can make and that stay super strong in the vitamin C category, and it will help hold it for the rest of the week. Yeah, enjoy.
Thank you, Marissa. Would you be able to send a follow-up with those recipes, and then
Sure.
I can send them out to the group?
Yeah, sure.
It's funny how you said, like, oh, these are probably really simple things and everybody knows it, but it's a really good reminder to just hear it in this context. And I'm thinking of, like, I'm doing an inventory of, like, okay, I have that, oh, I need that, but most of these things I have, and it's nice reinforcement, just even hearing about the vitamins and things like that. So thank you so much for walking through this in detail and sharing your expertise and knowledge with us this morning.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And I hope it inspires you to check out other things. There are a lot of things that are good for you and your immune system out there in addition.
Amazing. So I want to just move into our last guest speaker for today. I know this hour is already going really, really quickly. I knew it would, but I want to introduce Nix Joubert, again calling in, joining us all the way from the UK in her sweet little meditation space. And she's just going to share a few words and then just lead us through a nice little meditation. So Nix, I'll turn it over to you. And you're on mute, my friend. I think your phone is still on mute.
Wait, is that better?
There you go.
Hi, everyone. Cool, yes. So I'm just going to quickly just remind everyone, I'm not sure, I think the States is not quite as kind of far down the panic stations as Europe at this stage, but it's just a really good time for us to sink back into those practices. And there's obviously so much to share and so much that I could give for you. But I think the one really important thing about times like this is to just really fiercely guard your mornings more than anything else. So when we begin to get conscious in the mornings, our brain waves also are still in that theta state, which is a little bit like when you're hypnotized. That's how we get into those subconscious parts of our brains as well. But that you just give yourself that time in the morning to not just immediately grab your phone and completely just dive headfirst into the kind of panic stations of wherever we're at, because that external whir is happening anyway, and it's not going to make any difference if you come into it in 5, 20, even an hour, and even 2 hours time. It's still all going to be there. And your response to it and how you're going to be able to move through it is going to be completely different if you've taken the time to just give yourself some love. And it's really easy for us to be joyful and light and in all these great practices when life is joyful and light, and obviously that's great, and we want to soak in those times whenever we get them, because they're what are really training us for these challenging moments where it feels sometimes like we don't deserve to feel good at all. Like, how could we even feel good because it's so awful? Or that we're just so panicked ourselves that we don't feel like we can give ourselves that time. But we have to remember that if we don't give ourselves the time, then we are not going to respond to it in a good a way as we could if we gave ourselves that time. So if we just wake up and dive headfirst into our phone and get panicked or overwhelmed with it again, either we are going to be depleting ourselves of our resources, or we're going to end up being short or like not that kind to the people that are in our homes. And especially, I know in Europe, lots of places already are in quarantine. I think everyone's going to experience it a little bit at some point. So it's really important that we take this time to take that dive into that internal landscape and really look at what does it actually mean to make home cozy, really make it cozy. And for some of us, that's going to be a really easy journey because home's already pretty cozy. And so we can just make that better. We can just amplify that with the loved ones and the people that we're sort of in these small spaces with. And for those of us where maybe that isn't the case, and it's not nice to be in those now small spaces with the people we say we love the most, and it's a really good moment for us to be able to wake up and actually look at the people that we say we love the most in the world, and look at those relationships, and look at not lashing out at the people we say we love the most and making excuses because we're stressed, or we just watch this thing on the news or whatever else it is, and realizing that it all comes from within. So we're going to take that time to really set the tone. We're going to acknowledge that it is scary, that we're all feeling those things, but also when our brains, when we go into those fight or flight, or like love and cortisol and fear, we have like a moment when we are faced with that, where we actually have a choice to choose to lean more into love and release more cortisol into our systems, or choose to continue to go down that fear tunnel and release more cortisol into our systems. And that fight or flight is really important if it's really like a lion's in front of us. But what that does as well is it just shuts down all other systems, including respiratory, nervous, like every other system apart from like vital, heart rate, stops functioning at the best that it can if we keep flooding ourselves with fear. So in fact, to sustain what looks like it could be a couple of weeks, maybe even months of what we're all now faced with, it's more important than ever that we really give ourselves those moments of joy, that we give ourselves the time to just breathe, to also, for like all the reasons, also we're continuing to keep our lungs, when we are healthy, if we still are healthy, we're keeping our lungs nice and stretched. So from a physiological point of view, as well as a psychological point of view, we need to keep letting ourselves breathe well, and we need to keep letting ourselves have these quiet moments of just allowing ourselves to acknowledge it all, and then ask ourselves, if I move through the rest of this day in this glum state, in this fearful state, how am I really helping anyone, including myself? I'm just using everything as a way of panicking. So it's like, would all of us prefer that this wasn't happening? Absolutely. Everyone would prefer it's not happening, but it's happening. And so now we're in the situation we're in. Now we really get called to rise. Now we get really called to ask ourselves, how can I best serve myself and my community? I loved, Stacey, what you said at the beginning. It's absolutely that. It's so tempting to think that we're not going to put the mask on ourselves first, that we have to save the person sitting next to us. But we have to all take ourselves and that love and that self-love to really acknowledge that gift. You've been gifted You've been gifted the ability to love you. And if you do that fiercely and with integrity, then that you're going to be able to then share your overflow, and you're going to be able to sustain. And I find it really helpful as well in these challenging times to turn it round. And if you think about, if it did get to a point later on down the road that you did have a relative or yourself or somebody who was really sick and you needed to get to the hospital, would you prefer to come face to face with someone who's completely wrecked and panicked? Or would you prefer to come face to face with someone who's sure is dealing with a very challenging situation, but they're calm, they're soft, they've got a soft smile, and there's an element of you that just feels so much safer because you can see that this person is going to be able to handle the situation better. So we all just are being called to be able to give that to ourselves. And I think a huge amount of that comes from giving ourselves time, particularly in the mornings. And if we can do it last thing at night as well, even better, to just accept we've checked in. We know what the current situation is. We all know it's happening fast. It's changing day to day, week to week. But that's even more reason to have these really joyful moments. And if I'm just going to check my time as well here. Yes, okay, I do have time for this too. And then the other thing which is so important as well is, as surfers and waterwomen, and I think for me, a lot of the reason I love doing those things is because it really drops you into the moment where, especially if I'm paddling out into challenging swell, I don't have time for anything else in my head because all I can focus on is that. So I think it's hard when, especially if we get into a quarantine situation, but try and find things you can also do in that deep dive, in that internal way. Like my kids and I just brought our skateboards into the house and just started doing crazy stuff on our skateboards, you know, for balance and fun and fitness and silly things like that. But if it's music, then go learn a really complicated piece of music right now, whatever it is for you. If it's food, go make a really complicated recipe. You got the time. But just do something that drops you into that moment so that you're also giving yourself at least a half an hour or 10 minutes or an hour in the day that you're not worrying, that you're dropped in again, that everything else just fell away, and you were also using your time to still create or to still uplift or to still learn or to still, you know, there's so much stuff online. I think as much as it's really challenging to be all feeling like we're apart, this is where the beauty of the internet comes in now. You know, anything that you want is on there. You can learn to do tripod headstand finally away from the wall. You can deepen any practice you already have. Decide that you're going to learn a language over the next 2 weeks. Like whatever it is, do something that also focuses you so that you get fiercely like powerful about your mornings and your evenings to drench yourself in joy. Don't not give yourself that joy so you can move from joy to better deal with the massive challenge, which is not going to go away, but you're going to either come to it from faith, love, light, or you're going to come at it from wrecked, fearful, and mad and angry. And I think we all know who we prefer to come into contact with. People that are able to just flood some light and joy into themselves. So give yourself those gifts. And if it gets, I know in America you're not yet, but if it gets to those times where it's much more quarantine-y, then you still can organize your day, and you still can flood it with a lot of positivity. But you've got to be really disciplined to not just let your brain whir. You know, check in with the news, yes. Be up to date, yes. But then if you're permanently obsessed by it, you've got to ask yourself, if I keep doing this, where's this leading me? At the end of today, how am I going to feel? Just a complete mess. Whereas I could have spent half an hour checking in with the news, I'm still up to date, and the other 5 hours I could have cooked beautiful food, made love to my husband, you know, rang my great friend and had a beautiful chat, learned to do a headstand, worked towards this language, played this new beautiful piece of music on my guitar, you know, done a big booty shake. And if you do live alone, WhatsApp, FaceTime your mates and booty shake together, you know, find new ways, but keep flooding that joy and that light into your days to allow you and all of us to be able to deal with the challenging times. I think we're going to go into the meditation now, right, Stacey, for timing. I can't see the time on my phone, so I have like I actually have my son's Nintendo Switch, which is really interesting. That is my time source.
10 minutes till the top of the hour.
Okay.
But that was really important messaging, Nix. So I think that was just really powerful for all of us to hear. Thank you.
That's my pleasure. There's so much, like we could do 300 hours on it, but yeah, just I think those ones are really good. Cool. So put your beverage down, release the tea, close your eyes if you can, wherever you're at, and just take a big, long, full, deep breath in. And then just sigh it out. Just let it go. And just take a couple of breaths like that. Just really remembering how powerful those noises are as well. They're real deep releases for us. Just sighs, and we can flutter our lips. There's also, all of us have an internal yummy sound. So you can find that yummy noise and just allow yourself to pull even deeper into that internal landscape. And just keep breathing like that, Notice the parts of your body that have contact with the earth or the seat, and really give yourself over to that gravity. Just sink, melt. And with the next inhale, be really aware of pulling that breath right down to the base of the pelvic area, and feel that abdomen expand, the side body and the back body. And then as that inhale moves up through the diaphragm, also feel that expanding and into the rib cage, lifting up, creating space and length, and into the back body again. Send the breath into that space between the shoulder blades. And that inhale goes all the way up into the clavicle, the throat, the face, puffing and fluffing that breath into your cheeks, forehead. And as you begin your exhale, see if you can keep that space and find like a second internal cylinder and kind of squeeze that exhale out from that more deep depth of the internal places within you. And then again, inhale. So you're just riding that breath really three-dimensionally, finding length and space, exhaling, squishing it out. And then the next time you inhale for a count, whatever's comfortable for you, 6 or 8. Long inhale. And when you get to the top of that inhale, just hold the breath, retain just for a few moments. Feel that fullness. And then exhale, riding that breath again, all the way down to empty. And again, just a little retention with no air in the body. And then tip into the inhale again. And just keep breathing like this for a few cycles. Already noticing, feeling that hum and buzz. That's you. As you're just turning that lens inward. Really imagine yourself reclaiming the parts of yourself that might have shattered off this morning, last night, this lifetime. Just calling them all back. No judgment, just holding space for all of you. The fear, the faith, the light, the dark. Continuing to breathe. Just riding that breath. Feel those natural curves of the spine. And really using this breath as a tool, such a gateway tool for this to pull you inward, to really keep that lung capacity strong. And it's your best friend before you maybe speak or say something that isn't really what you want to say. It's not really aligned with who you are. It's maybe coming from a fear place. Just making friends with this wisdom, this innate wisdom that's your breath, this life force, the only thing with you from birth till you transition. Just riding this breath, letting it feel sweet, and really imagining yourself melting even deeper now. Just melt like chocolate left out in the sun. Imagine yourself just getting to that perfect melt, all gooey, really loving yourself up, really nurturing you, really realizing what a gift you are. You get to love you. That's amazing. You got gifted you. Just breathe into how powerful that allows you to reclaim that power, and let the breath feel really easeful, really easy. Just love being in the room with you. Easeful. To like what you see. It feels deep, feels true, feels soft and gentle. It feels like adoring, feels comfortable and honest, feels real, feels exciting and passionate, expansive. It feels like home. It feels good, scary, like the best adventure. It feels like confidence. It feels like you. It feels open-ended. It feels competent. It feels confident. It feels delicious, vital, healthy, and full. Feels easy and calm to bow to the light that is you. Feels right. Just ride the breath. Feel the corners of your mouth just curl up. Soft smile. Hum and buzz that is you. The miracle that's you. And just ride the breath like you would ride the perfect wave. Allowing yourself to move as joy would have you move, even in these times. And obviously stay as long as you can stay. Otherwise, little wiggles into your fingers and toes. Fluttering the eyes open. Letting that smile just get a little wider. And just coming back. Feeling good. Namaste, amazing ladies.
Thank you, Nix. That was absolutely lovely. I hope you all enjoyed that as much as I did. Nix has been a mentor for me over the last few months without me even realizing it, and just hearing her lead and navigate with a calm peace of mind and calmness and love and light has been really inspiring to me. So thank you, Nix, for sharing that with the larger group today. It means so much.
I just want to, if it's okay, quickly also just say, obviously, thank you, Stacey, so much as well. It's such a honor, and also all the amazing people on the call. Yeah, this is it. This is how we do it. We rise together. We're so amazingly adaptive as human beings, and we just find new ways. We still come together. We still empower. We lift up. We giggle. We drink tea. We go deep. We go light. We are all things, and and it's just such an honor to be privileged to be in a group of amazing women. And Stacey, wow, and the other speakers. And everyone for taking the time and being here. It's amazing.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much for joining. I will send out the replay for anyone who missed it, and also the recipes, and I'll tag the ladies in case you have any specific questions or want to get in touch directly with Marissa or Nix or Jedell for reading materials. And I just want to thank you all for coming today. So I hope everyone has a beautiful Sunday and navigates the week a little bit differently, a little bit lighter. And thank you guys all for being here. And if this is something that is of interest going forward, maybe we can do a weekly session or a bi-weekly session just so we can, stay in touch and stay connected and continue to learn from each other and be inspired by each other. So I'll continue to put those feelers out. So thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Shakas.
Thank you, Stacey. Thanks, everybody.
I think I can unmute all you guys here.
Shakas are so cool because look, they're like the aloha spirit and no touching. So we get to like shaka it out for like the next few months now.
Yes. Let's all do a shaka and I'll take a really quick shaka.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Happy Sunday.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Stacey.